that's kind of funny. The new Tegra 4 processor coming out next year is called Wayne. Toasty! Get over here. Hey guys, this is Android Weekly. I am RICKY, the Android guy. And if you get that reference, you get 10 points. The first article is on the Tegra 4 processor that's coming out from supposedly HTC is going to be the first one to get this processor. Now, the interesting thing about this processor is that it's supposed to be much faster than the Tegra 3. It's supposed to be twice as powerful, and really good GPU. And I believe it's supposed to clock in at 1.8 gigahertz, which isn't too far of a stretch. So Tegra 3 clocked in at 1.7. Hopefully this will be on the new architecture, the A15 architecture, which only Samsung has a chip out for thus far. So it'll be really interesting if that does come out. The trick is that supposedly the Tegra 4 is supposed to be for a tablet. Now if HTC is the first one to get it, this would be HTC's long-awaited return to tablets. Or, well, not sure if anyone's really waiting anymore, but they had the Flyer, which was the first one, which was a great tablet that was tremendously overpriced. Then they had the Jetstream, which was just overpriced. So they have not had a successful tablet yet, and it'll be interesting to see if they can make their comeback. Now, supposedly, their flagship is also coming out either. Now, this is a rumor, so I want to clarify. I'm not sure if this is a tablet or a phone, but they're supposed to come out with something called the M7, which could supposedly have the same processor as Tegra 4, or an entirely different processor, maybe just the S4 quad core that is in their HTC DNA. But it's supposedly called the M7, and this is supposed to be in Q1. And the reason why this is interesting is because, you know, it's supposed to basically be very, very similar to the HTC DNA that's for Verizon, but also supposedly be rumored to have a 13 megapixel camera this time. So possibly a bit better camera, but at the same time, who knows if it really will be. Simply because HTC, their 8 megapixel is far below almost every other 8 megapixel on the market on the DNA. And supposedly the other rumor is that this one might have an aluminum unibody. So that'll be pretty interesting to see if they go aluminum instead of their polycarbonate that they've been using on most of their devices. So that should be kind of interesting. On the HTC front. Now, on the T-Mobile front, they had two big announcements that came about this past week. One is, of course, that they will be carrying Apple products in 2013. Now, while there is no real details on this out from either Apple or T-Mobile, it is safe to say that they will have the iPhone. And it's also safe to say that they will have at least one variant of iPad, whether it be iPad mini or the regular iPad. Now, the interesting thing about this is that, you know, this will still be HSPA Plus iPhones. So maybe they'll only get the 4S and not the 5. Although the 5 does have HSPA Plus, it's not as big as, at least in the US, which is the T-Mobile I'm talking about. I'm talking about the T-Mobile in the US. Obviously, T-Mobile overseas have already had iPhones, but not in the US. So that is pretty interesting, and I'm just kind of interested to see how it will come about. That if it will be everywhere. Currently, right now, I have a global device, and I'm always on edge with T-Mobile instead of being on their 4G. Now, they are rolling out the 1900 megahertz spectrum, which would fix that because that's what most global users use. So hopefully that'll come about more easily in 2013. But of course, they still need to work on, you know, going over to LTE to begin with as well. So this will be kind of interesting, and they plan on doing something else, of course, besides just adding Apple to their lineup. and that is also moving all of their plans over to value plans. So if you've never heard of a T-Mobile value plan, let me give you the basic premise of the idea. The basic premise is that you pay a lot, you pay less than you would playing the regular classic plan. So right now T-Mobile has a classic plan and a value plan. The classic plan, you pay more upfront for the phone, but you pay a steady monthly bill, so your monthly bill is the same every month, and you cannot upgrade till the end of the 2 years. However, the value plan, you pay considerably less for the phone up front, but your bill is higher because you're basically paying for the full phone. So you're essentially paying for, say if the phone is $599, you are essentially paying the $599, but you're paying it over the time span of the 2 years. However, the benefit to this value plan is, you do have a slightly higher monthly bill than you would otherwise. But as soon as you pay this off, which you can pay off early, if you want to, pay like $100 more on your monthly bill, you can do that 1 month and then be paying it off early. As soon as you pay off the phone on the value plan, you can upgrade. So theoretically, you can actually pay off your plan early and upgrade once a year if you want, which is again really that's a really nice feature of the value plan. So they will actually be doing away with the classic plan starting in 2013. Now the value plan supposedly, does get T-Mobile some more money obviously up front, but customers benefit from it from being able to upgrade sooner than any other carrier. Sprint was the only one that really kind of allowed you to upgrade within a year, and they don't really do that anymore for the most part. If you're a special customer, you kind of get some privileges still. But for the most part, you cannot upgrade once a year anymore with pretty much all carriers, with the exception of T-Mobile with their value plan. So that's the nice part about their value plan. So let me know if you guys like the value plan more or you like the classic plan more. Google brings the award-winning image editor Snapseed to Android. Snapseed was just because most of you are familiar with it, it's kind of like Instagram. Basically, this was only on iOS previously, and it was a paid-for app. Google did purchase this to kind of get into the photo editing and filtering thing. About a year ago, or not a year ago, it was probably earlier this year, that they purchased it, and they hadn't done anything with it yet. Now they have brought it over to Android, as well as they have made the app free on iOS, which is really nice considering that it was $5 before. It is now a free app. So definitely just a nice part of it, and I think it's really good. I think that it is going to be hard to take Instagram down though, just because of all that it has built up with it. But this is a really good app. I suggest you guys check it out. And if you definitely like effects, I think it has a little bit more than Instagram. I've never been too impressed with Instagram filters, but I'll let you guys decide. On other Apple-related news, Tim Cook is talking again, and as usual, I think I like that sound effect in the back. As usual, he is saying things that not many people are taking seriously, and that are just kind of living up to Apple's downfall. For one, Tim Cook is saying that they will move some of the production to the US away from China. The reason why this isn't believable is because they contract everything through Foxconn, even though Foxconn is supposedly moving some stuff to the US, it's nowhere near their strong point. It's much cheaper to manufacture outside of the US, as we know, and this would seem just not that really credible, especially since Apple doesn't want to put money into making Foxconn a acceptable working place. Why would they put more money into manufacturing things over here if they're not even willing to put a small amount to make just conditions workable? Which is I doubt them doing this. Another thing is, he is talking about how Apple shares have are now on the rise again, and they're only going to go higher, which is still not that believable since they dropped $150 since their 60 days, and nowhere near what they were. So still not that believable. Although honestly, they've been doing a huge PR campaign with a lot of other channels I've seen. Apple, I have no doubt in my mind, especially since I know some people, and yeah, I'm not going to say who or what channels, but definitely Apple's been paying, it seems like certain reviewers and analysts and estimators on how their company is doing, and it's definitely more positive than it actually is if you look at the facts. I remember seeing one article that a person that didn't know what they were talking about said, like, oh, Apple's selling more than anyone, or like that, and it was an estimate of what Apple was selling. And I thought that was really funny that this person was trying to say, like, that's fact, it was an estimate. So I just think this is really interesting how Apple, is just kind of trying to dig themselves out of the hole that they created. And lastly, he did admit to screwing up the maps, so I thought that was pretty funny, and that the iPad mini sales have not been as highly or high as they wanted. Now, speaking of Apple Maps, the police in Australia have said Apple Maps are potentially life-threatening. This is due to Apple's maps just really kind of pointing people in the wrong directions in certain areas where people should not drive through, and well, just a lot of different areas, from national parks that had like poisonous snakes to making wrong turns that would literally make people go off of a bridge, and lots of other things. There was just a lot of things in the report, and Australian police were just really wary of Apple Maps even allowed to be on phones, simply for the fact that they have not been doing well. But not only that, that supposedly with all their fixes, they're still leading to these horrible accidents and potential life-threatening things happening to people. I mean, that's just something that Maps should obviously not do. And because of this decline, actually, new estimates are showing that these are estimates, and like I said earlier, these are just estimates, that because of Apple's decline based on fact, that they actually are declining at the point where Android is said to be over 70% of smartphone shipments in 2013. Now, this does coincide with already they're about 67% of the world market in terms of shipments, so this would make sense. They would grow to 70. The other news is though that Windows phones are supposedly going to go up 150% from what they are right now. Now, this isn't that impressive since Windows phones are still in the 1 to 5 percentile everywhere they're at. But it is showing that Apple will continue to decline, as well as, of course, BlackBerry. But so this is really interesting because we keep seeing this trend of people moving towards Android, and now some people are moving towards Microsoft to just get rid of Apple. The reason I feel, and I was discussing this with someone else earlier today, I feel that Apple is great for a first-time smartphone user. However, we're getting to the point where people are on their second or third smartphone. And since they know how to use a regular, simple smartphone, now they want to use more, and Apple isn't giving them more. So they're going to Android, or even trying out Windows. Speaking of Windows, Microsoft, it looks like they will bring their Surface RT version to retail stores very soon. So this could be towards the beginning of 2013. And the reason is, of course, that they honestly can't sell that much just from the Microsoft Store alone. They need retail stores to help push their tablets. And I recommend this for any manufacturer. Just to point out one thing, I feel that Android as well, I feel that the Nexus devices should be in more stores. I think they would have much greater sales. One thing that I feel that they should be in is Best Buys. Best Buys, I think, would increase their sales dramatically from what their sales actually are right now. So I do believe that more stores should be in the more of these devices should be in national retailers, because people still want that look and feel. They want to look at and try the product out. Now, in related news to Microsoft, though, they're hoping this helps their sales. But not only that, they actually have tweaked some of their ads because some of them weren't working. For instance, they tried to, on Twitter, Microsoft asked something called Droid Rage, a campaign called Droid Rage that said, let me know your worst malware experience for Droid Rage story. And people left really funny hashtags. I'm just going to read out my favorite one. I wish my Android phone crashed more often like Windows. Hashtag Droid Rage. So I thought that was pretty funny. Microsoft ended up pulling the plug on this because it backfired so much. People just weren't buying it. In terms of games coming out, we do have a big one coming out. Besides all of the Gameloft games, they're supposed to have a lot of titles in 2013. It looks like we're also getting Final Fantasy IV. Final Fantasy IV looks like it will be coming to iOS and Android the end of this year and the beginning of next year. And the reason why this is so big is because we're getting closer to having that full gaming experience on portable devices and really good tablets. The more these tablets get better graphics cards and better processors, the more they can play our favorite games. And this is really big too for Final Fantasy lovers because it's one step closer to Final Fantasy VI, which many consider to be the best out of the series. So it should be interesting. I still, I was a newcomer, so I liked 7 first, and yeah, I know loyalists, I know. Anyway, in other news, Samsung is such a tease. They released a trailer telling us to get ready because CES 2013 in Las Vegas, they will show something new. Now this is really interesting because there's a lot of rumors around this. A couple of websites like Phone Arena, Engadget, Verge, and all that kind of stuff have pointed out a couple of things, because we've seen a lot of things in the past from Samsung. So there's 2 technologies in R&D that are particularly interesting. One, which we've been hearing about forever, has been the flexible screens. Now the flexible screens are pretty interesting because it means that your phone really can't break, and they've designed flexible screens. I believe they did design flexible batteries. I know they designed flexible chips like processors and everything like that to go with it, which is really insane that they can kind of make all that flexible. The problem with, I'm guessing, the problem with the flexible technology is that you want something at least stable. So you want something that you could like bend, but then snaps back into place. And I think if they get that, then that could be something really interesting. Not only that, but the flexible technology relies on a new type of screen. Instead of glass and LED backlighting, you're getting a plastic sheet with LEDs that literally fills up every single pixel with an LED from what the technology early described was, which is really amazing because we'll see better screen quality than we ever could have with glass. So this is pretty interesting. This is one technology we definitely have looked forward to. Another thing, of course, is possible the transparent screens we saw like in Korea and Japan made by Samsung that you can actually see through the screen. I think this one's further off, but I definitely think we'll see something with flexible screen technology this year. Will it be at CES? Who knows? I guarantee it will not be the S4 like all of the rumor mills talked about. It will not be the S4. I'm guaranteeing that. S4 comes out every year, same time, before summer. So I try to put that rumor mill to bed because I just do not believe any of that. I would be shocked if they would break that mold because it's worked so well for them. Google Now may soon be a part of your Chrome browser, so that's pretty exciting. Chrome supposedly is going to bring Google Now cards over to Chrome, which frankly I love. I've gone all around showing people Google Chrome and people have loved it, and That's one of the most exciting, that is probably the most exciting thing that people can't wait for on Android Jelly Bean 4.1. So I love Google Now, the translation is amazing, the cards are amazing. The fact that you do not have to ask a question and you get your answer is amazing. And that's really the best part of Google Now. It just knows your answers to your questions before you even ask them. And on a final note, Samsung and Apple are still, of course, the top in the market share. But guess what, guys? Samsung has beat Apple in connected device share. The reason why this is so big is connected devices include not only smartphones and tablets, but they also include MP3s. So even with Apple's iPods, iPads, and their smartphones, they have not been able to outsell and outperform Samsung. Samsung has maintained 66 million units sold, whereas Apple has only had 45 million units sold. So it's more than 20 million units more. And Samsung has 21 or 22% of the market, whereas Apple has 15%. Now keep in mind this also includes PCs, so we see people like HP at around 5%, Lenovo at about 7%. So this is really big numbers that I think really have proven that Samsung has really taken over. I mean, to outsell Apple when they had their MP3s backing them up, their MP3 players backing them up, is really going a long way. So Samsung is truly dominating Apple. Alright guys, that has been Android Weekly. I hope you enjoyed watching. Let me know if you have any questions or any article you particularly are still curious about. Hope you enjoyed it. Give a like and thumbs up, and stay tuned to our channel tomorrow for the Q&A. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.